Throughout the scriptures, amazing things happen on mountaintops, and today is no exception. Today we hear the famous story of the Transfiguration. So allow me to take a moment to set the scene. Just a few days prior, Jesus was with his disciples when he asked the famous question, "Who do you say that I am?" Well, some say you're Elijah, some say you're one of the prophets, and it was Peter who spoke up in faith and said, "No, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God." 6 days later, Jesus proved Peter right. With 3 of his apostles, Peter, James, and John, they climbed Mount Tabor as he gave them a mountaintop experience. Jesus showed them his full divinity, his whole godliness. But he wasn't alone. Jesus appeared with 2 of the most famous figures in Jewish culture. He appeared with Moses. Moses was seen as the lawgiver. He received the 10 Commandments. He dictated the books of Deuteronomy and Leviticus, laws that the Jews of Jesus' time would use every day. Not a day would go by for a devout Jew at this time where the laws of Moses where Moses wasn't acknowledged, where his laws weren't utilized, whether it be for cleanliness, for ceremony. On the other side of Jesus was the prophet Elijah. Elijah was seen as a symbol of all the prophets of the Old Testament for the Jewish people. He was a protector of Israel, both of their religion, both of their spirituality, and their culture. His name means, "My God is Yahweh." And he would famously challenge prophets of other gods, the prophets of Baal. He hid from the evil queen Jezebel in the book of Kings, 1 Kings. And he was seen as a protector of the faith and the nation of the Jewish people. Yet during the Transfiguration, both of these larger-than-life heroes appeared to be subservient to Jesus. The lawgiver and the prophet, essentially the whole of Scriptures, are placing themselves on either side, pointing towards Jesus as if to say, "We are fulfilled in him." The law and the prophets are fulfilled in Jesus. The Messiah, the one who you have been waiting for, the one who Elijah prophesied and who the laws of Moses were directed towards, is here with us. And then a voice resonates from heaven that both confirms what Peter said just a week prior and repeating the words of Jesus' baptism, "This is my beloved Son." Peter, James, and John respond in the only way appropriate, by lying down in adoration. What the apostles had held in faith was now confirmed with this spectacular grace. So what does this miraculous experience have to do with us here in Minnesota and Excelsior in 2020? It shows us that we worship a God of love, a God who gives laws like Moses, a God who loves us enough that he becomes one of us, that he becomes man. He lived as man so that he could die. He could have ascended under his own power at any time, but he chose out of his own free divine will to be here with us. And is this how we think of Jesus, who loved us in such this intense way? A man who gives laws like Moses that do not restrict our freedoms, but gives us the freedom to love him in a more intense way, to return the favor that he's given us. Do we think of Jesus as a God of miracles who rewards our faith? As we enter into this second week of Lent, it may feel as though we're, like the apostles, we're climbing our own mountain, and a mountain without a peak. We can get discouraged. We can be tempted to lose faith, go our own way. But God wants something more from us. He gave us himself so that we could give ourselves back. Through Holy Mother Church, Jesus takes us gently by the arm and guides us up this mountain of life. He gives us moral teachings so that we have the opportunity to grow closer to him and he gives us the sacraments to strengthen us when we inevitably fall. In the same way he showed his glory to the apostles on the top of the mountain, he wants to do the same with us. My friends, brothers, and sisters, as we go through life, allow Jesus the opportunity to lead us. Peter, James, and John likely didn't know that climbing Mount Tabor, a journey that took 2 or 3 days, what that would lead to. It would lead to this miracle of the Transfiguration. All they knew is that they were following Jesus. And Jesus wants to show us the fullness of heaven. He rewarded the faith of the apostles and wants to do the same with us. So please, friends, brothers, and sisters, keep our faith. Continue to pray. Continue to frequent the sacraments by coming to Mass, going to confession. Because just like the apostles in today's gospel, I can promise you that someday, in some way, it'll all be worth it.